I had, again, great mentors, a guy, John Katzenbach, who's many say is sort of the father of culture. I got to work with him when I was at Booz Allen. He was, we actually got to write a couple of articles together. And he was the one that taught me it's actually, you can't change culture. You have to change behaviors. Behaviors change culture.
Welcome back to Winning at Work. It's season 3, the podcast for the food and beverage and CPG world. I'm Jennifer Lee, Tony's new marketing sidekick and creative guru. I'll attempt to keep him on track as we discover the ideas and strategies behind all these different, better, and special brands.
Oh, good luck keeping me on track, but I am really stoked to have you on the team, Jennifer. Your background in marketing and SEO and socials. We are going to have so much fun this year. We're going to be discovering the new brands here in 2023. It's all about functional, good for you, lifestyle brands. Those are trending. Those are the products that are gaining market share and really pulling away from those old legacy brands. We're going to have each and every one of those brands down on the podcast to talk to us, to share their ideas, their inspiration. So you, the entrepreneur, so you, the food and beverage and CPG professional, can take these new ideas in and incorporate them into your business and into your life.
Oh my gosh, Tony, I'm seriously so excited. I feel like I learn so much just from listening to older episodes.
Well, that's why we're here. And if this is your first time here, I would recommend, go back, take the 5-episode challenge. Pick a brand, pick a CEO, an entrepreneur, dive in, listen to what it is that they're teaching us. If you love the content, subscribe. We hope you're along with us for the journey each and every week.
By the way, do you have a favorite brand in your market you would love for us to amplify on this national platform? Reach out to us on LinkedIn. And stay tuned for this week's episode. Hey, it's Jennifer. We get it. Everyone hates hiring. Inspired by his guest, Tony created a novel talent acquisition program that attracts the hidden candidate market, the 70% of people that are not actively applying to jobs. Click on the Attract link in the show notes to watch a demo.
Welcome to Winning at Work, everybody. It's Tony. I don't think I've told people this story, but my parents actually met on Broadway. They are in show business. And when they moved out of New York and they came to Atlanta to open up their ballet studios, the first thing they'd do with me is not take me to the ballet studio. They would drop me off at my grandparents'. And myself and my sister, we would show up at my grandmother's house. Every Saturday morning, I would smell the most incredible home-cooked spaghetti meal that grandma was making. And I'd go into the kitchen and the meat and the sauce was just bubbling over, and it was her unique thing. And I've discovered that there is a phrase for this. It's called scented memory, right? And I can't tell you how really excited I am, not only to talk about the growth of Mama Mancini's with Adam Michaels, the CEO, but we're going to have a beer together today.
Yes.
So feel free to crack it.
There you go.
Crack it open.
Boom.
Boom. There it is.
Cheers, my man.
Cheers to you, my friend.
Thank you.
And super excited to really kind of get into a little bit about your backstory and the vision you have for a really just such a strong growing trend that's happening now in grocery stores. So, but before we get into that, I just have to understand, how does an engineer from the University of Pennsylvania end up in food and beverage? Bioengineer.
Even crazier.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, how? Why? How are you in food and beverage now? What's wrong with you?
My friends and wife ask me that often. No, I think I'm just a little lucky, I guess. I'm lucky that I found my passion early. So yes, I was a bioengineer in school. Not sure I use that immediately, but I really do believe I use the thought process every day. So the way of thinking, the first principles, use every day.
Well, what are first principles? What's that?
I think it's a lot of asking questions, right? It's a
Okay.
lot of logic. It's a lot of, does that make sense? And ask questions to drive the answer. And I love data. I love analysis, but it's not just the data, but rather it's, I say it to my teams all the time. It's the what is the data, the so what, which is, what's the insight, but most importantly, and none of that creates value, it's the now what. Now, what are you going to do now that you have this information? People come to you all the time with, oh, here's just a spreadsheet. That doesn't create any value at all. So that's, the early learning that I've been able to apply. I started at a company called Capital One, which I guess everyone probably has heard of now. When I started, I promise you, no one had ever heard of it. All my friends said, where are you going?
They're on every other commercial.
I promise you, 0 people knew about when I started back in the late 90s. But that, gave me a great background, very lucky, and amazing mentors that I still speak with and could speak to you forever about mentorship, because wherever I am today is because of them. Got to live abroad, lived in Europe for a number of years with Capital One, London, Paris. There's something about, having a newspaper subscription in another country. Got to do that, came back, spent a lot of time in Richmond, Virginia with Capital One, then moved back to New York City, went to business school in the city, and then got to work at Booz Allen Hamilton, a management consulting firm. And that, long-winded, is how I found my passion. My first project was in the food and beverage space, and I have never looked back since. So I'm very appreciative of the opportunities I have.
And it's really where passion really lives, because this is something that we're all eating, we're drinking. It breeds that type of feel. Well, look, I'm very familiar with your brand, but for maybe those who maybe are just experiencing this for the first time, you want to give us just a kind of a 30,000 foot view of the brand and kind of what your focus is and your vision?
Absolutely. Yeah. So Mama Mancini's an Italian heritage brand, fresh, clean eating. Became famous for our meatballs. So there really is a Dan Mancini. Actually, I was with him this morning. We get to have amazing meetings together. My favorite meeting of the month is this grandma quality meeting, which we just had around
grandma quality.
It's important. We'll talk about it. But Italian heritage, started with the meatballs, continued to expand into other products. We acquired a couple companies last year that expanded the aperture of our offerings. And now the whole idea and their vision for us is to become this one-stop shop deli solutions provider. So close your eyes, any deli, whether it be at your local Publix or Costco or Stop and Shop, wherever you are, behind the glass, in the hot bar, in the prepared food section, in the grab and go section, we do all of that. And the whole idea is, can we make it easier for our customers, being the retailers, and our consumers, because there is a trust in quality of our brand. We can provide it all. You want a meatball? We got that. Sausage, peppers. You don't like that? How about chicken? We make balsamic chicken and lemon chicken. You don't like chicken? Why don't you try a sandwich? You don't like sandwiches? Try a salad. You want grilled vegetables? We have it all. You want olives? The whole idea is one-stop shop deli solution. Fresh, clean eating.
You are literally right at the inflection point of all the things that we've been seeing happening right now. It's like the old traditional grocery store and food service, they're kind of melding together now, and the lines are kind of blurred, and you're right in the middle of that, in that ready to serve, ready to eat category now.
Yeah, another thing that I learned early, I think it's like an old Warren Buffett quote, which I won't quote because I'll get it wrong, but the whole idea is that it's way better to ride a trend than try to create a new one or go against a trend. And the job I had, I was so fortunate for almost 10 years to work at Mondelez, Nabisco. The last role I had was M&A, and we can talk about that in a little bit. But the job before that is I had the honor to lead our consumer insights and analytics within North America. So my only job was to be the mouthpiece for my 330 million friends in the US. So for 3 years, my only job was to understand the consumer and, riding the wave of fresh, clean, easy to prepare. No one has any time anymore. I want a clean label. That's exactly, the perimeter of the store. You couldn't do better than the deli. And again, particularly quality, you could go to a restaurant today, particularly with, unfortunately, inflation and everything. You get yourself a chicken Parmesan, I don't know, $20, right? $15, $20, tip, tax, a glass of wine, taxi there, taxi back, $20, $30. You could have
gone to a Broadway show for that. And
instead, you get the same quality. Oh, sorry, Dan would yell at me. Grandma quality for $9.99. So significant savings and maintaining, if not exceeding, the quality.
Well, how apropos that I opened up with my grandma's story. I promise you people, we did not have that planned.
Oh man, that's exactly what Dan's all about, what our whole company is all about.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I was just trying to get a vibe of, of the company and the culture. And I know we'll talk about that in a little bit. But when I started thinking about just the fresh and authentic and, meatballs, I literally just kind of flashed back to my grandmother and thought that. So what other trends are you seeing that are happening in grocery or with consumers right now? You touched on it a little bit. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, I think, it's, again, it's unfortunate, right? Recessionary pressures, whatever words you want to use, make it more and more difficult. What happens is the first thing is, and I mentioned earlier, people are actually moving away from restaurants, right? They're eating out to eating at home, right? That's a good way to start saving some money. So that's sort of the first phase of a recession, what you see, and that that's creates a tailwind for us. I guess unfortunately, the second phase of this recessionary trends or pressures is what happens is people move from branded items to private label. So I'm sure you're reading in the paper, just like I am, the fastest growing part of the store these days are private label. Stores are doing more of it. I read an article yesterday that they did a survey, 40% of people are buying more private label than they were just 6 months ago. What's more interesting to me was more than 70% of those people say they're not going back. So when you and I were kids, I'm sure, I was unhappy.
Well, we don't date ourselves.
We don't date ourselves.
You've already thrown one date out, so right. Be careful. That's a cardinal rule in the podcast.
Yeah, we don't date ourselves.
We don't date ourselves. Okay.
When I was a child, my mom got us, the private label stuff because that's what we could afford. And you knew the quality associated with it. Today, retailers, first of all, we all know who's making the private label. It's the same companies.
It's the same, exactly.
And the quality is, the same, if not better. So this second phase around people move from branded to private label. Again, one thing that's interesting about our company is our legacy Mama's business. We have a couple businesses, but the legacy Mama's business is about 50-50 branded and private label. That is huge for us. Why is it huge? It's huge because all the people that are moving to private label, they're moving to us too, right? We win right. Both ways.
And it still tastes great.
It still tastes great. And by the way, I make my CFO happy because actually our margins are actually roughly the same between brand and private label. That's another unique thing about us. So this move from branded to private label is probably the second phase. And then the third phase you hope not to get to is as recessions continue, people just start to eat less. And hopefully we don't get to that. We let the monetary and fiscal policy do their work. But so those two, that's what I'm tracking every day, understanding the trends in the marketplace.
Yeah, it really has to let up. There's so much pressure right now on the consumer. I mean, my heart really does go out to them. It's okay to be well positioned. I mean, you just happen to be well positioned. You're not taking advantage of it. You are just smartly positioned in the grocery store, in the deli, to be there, as you say, riding that wave, riding that trend that Buffett had talked about. Now, when it comes to marketing and positioning, what would you say over your career in the way brands go about this? What are you finding is like the most effective way to kind of go to market and kind of promote these different brands? I think you kind of touched on it. I'm kind of curious if you want to expand on that at all.
Yeah, I think first of all, I learned back in my my Booz Allen days that, we used to talk about way to play and right to win. So I think the first thing I would actually say is that there is no one way to play. You just have to connect kind of your strategy to kind of your operations. For the work that I've done in the past and I'm doing now, I am just incredibly passionate about quality of the product, quality of servicing our customers. And I just I'm a strong believer if you have a great product, it's going to work for you. And if you let up even a little bit, everything falls apart. So the first one, for me is about quality and service levels. I think the second thing for me is consumers are looking for fresher, cleaner ingredients. So again, I could talk about my meatloaf or the balsamic chicken. You were talking
Please
to me about
don't.
these.
It's lunchtime.
Right.
Okay. I'm drinking on an empty stomach, so please.
You were talking about the meatballs. Literally, without exaggeration, our meatballs have 6 ingredients. Literally ground beef, pecorino romano cheese, breadcrumbs, onions, parsley.
Just the way grandma made it.
So for us, it is about, I think consumers are really looking for fresher, cleaner ingredients. I'm kind of not a naysayer on healthy, but I think for the long term, people have to enjoy what they eat. They could eat cleaner. I just don't believe they could eat kale all day long.
Right. And again, I was discussing this with another functional brand, and the thought was, you can build the best functional brand you want. If it doesn't taste good, you're gone. Without
a doubt. Yeah. And the third thing is there is this connection to kind of how we grew up. This sort of nostalgia that, you spoke about these scented memories. This is real. Again, there really is a Mama Mancini. Unfortunately, she's not with us today, but Dan is. And consumers want to connect. I'll tell you a super quick story. Again, back a couple of years ago, in the beginning of COVID, when I was working at Mondelez at Nabisco, we saw a huge run up of these, I don't know if you even remember these Lorna Doone cookies and some of these older brands that you grew up with, even, Oreos. And what was happening was people were unsure, right? They didn't know what was going on. And they just wanted a little bit of safety. And, I remember when my mom gave me those, 3 Oreo cookies before I went to bed at night with a glass of milk, and that makes me feel better. So I think this connection to nostalgia, this connection to what I remember eating growing up is something that really has an impact in general on how you eat, how consumers engage with the brands. People are using brands as badges, right? You are what you eat legitimately. So, I remember when, a Starbucks first came out, this is 100 years ago, but, people would literally carry that Starbucks cup all day long. They would have refilled it with like Maxwell House, but they have to be connected to the brand.
It's the lifestyle brand. Yeah, it's extension of them.
Without a doubt. So I think, I think it's, again, I'm very lucky because I truly believe where Mama Mancini's is where the consumer is and where it continues to go on the perimeter of the store, fresher, cleaner, healthier. That's what really works.
See, it seems though that you really are in a nostalgia brand just because of the origin. This is not just some, hey, let's
you can't
create
make it up.
That's what I'm saying. You can't make it up. So how do you, this, a lot of food and beverage people listen to this. So in your opinion, knowing that is not just a trend, it's a human quality. How does a company try to capture that?
So it's funny. I don't know if this is the answer, the right answer, but I don't know if you could fake it. Sorry, you could try to fake it. I think you're going to eventually get caught.
You're going to be seen.
So there is something about, if you go back, and again, I think I mentioned the last role I had at my last company was I had just about the coolest job in the whole world. I got to help lead our ventures business. So there are about half a dozen businesses that I was able.
Well, that does sound really cool.
It was absolutely the coolest. I mean, if you promise not to tell anyone, I would have done the job for free. They were just suckers for even paying me. I would have taken the job for free. But I got to do the end to end. I got to find these companies. I got to acquire these companies. I got to be there with the companies every step of the way as we achieved our growth targets. But you look at the companies, the more I think about it, I kept buying the same company over and over again. And I would even tell you that Mama Mancini's is just another company I would have bought if Mondelez was in the deli space. You think of Perfect Snacks is a refrigerated nutrition bar. I don't know if you've heard of it before, but you can't fake that story, right? It's it was 11 brothers and sisters. You literally can't fake it. It doesn't matter who you are. You're not going to be able to tell the story of Bill and Lee Keith and their family and it being in the bus. You think of Hue Chocolate. I don't know if you've heard of Hue Chocolate, another brand that made an initial investment in and then acquired for Mondelez. Jason and Jordan, you just can't fake it, right? This really is a story to them. It's something part of their lives when they present it to buyers. Again, with going back to Dan with Mama Mancini's. Dan is actually on QVC. I don't know if you've ever seen him do it.
I haven't, but I'm going to go look for him now because I understand he's out there selling the brand.
You can't fake it. It just resonates with consumers. He goes to buyer meetings. Look, there's other parts. Actually, there's more than Italian food now. And, we have an amazing team. But very specifically to your question, I don't know if you could fake it. I truly believe you want to, as a company, you have a story that's authentic. That's the word. Authentic.
Yeah. I appreciate you driving that point home. It just has to be your genuine, authentic story, and the right people, the right audience, it needs to resonate with, and then you can just amplify that message.
Absolutely. Yes.
Whenever you
Very
whenever
much
you
so.
can. You mentioned in your past life, you got involved in many acquisitions, and you also got to spend a lot of time looking at how consumers behave. I think that gives you a lot of insight too into people just in general, right? And as you're in your role now and you've got X number of people, across multiple departments, as you grow, how are you maintaining culture? Do you have any philosophies around maintaining, strengthening?
Yeah, I think it's incredibly important. I think it's actually one of the most important parts of a leader's responsibility. Yes, I have to hit my sales numbers. Yes, I have to make sure the operations run, the plant makes the widgets. But it's the culture, I think, that that's going to make or break you at the end of the day. I'm very lucky. I had, again, great mentors, a guy, John Katzenbach, who's many say is sort of the father of culture. I got to work with him when I was at Booz Allen. He was, we actually got to write a couple of articles together. And he was the one that taught me it's actually, you can't change culture. You have to change behaviors. Behaviors change culture. So directly to your question, it's one of the first things that I've done since I came to Mama Mancini's. I found opportunities for improvement when I got here. And the biggest one is we weren't rowing the boat together. We all had different targets. We were bonused on different elements of the business. And what was literally happening was some guy was rowing to the right, and at the same time, another guy was rowing to the right and left. And I think the first thing we did, so we now have, it was never happening before, but we now have a Monday morning leadership team meeting. So we get into the room together, we share what's going on, we take decisions and actions in that meeting. We don't leave until that's done. And then we're all for the week. We start the meeting with, how was the weekend? And we end the meeting with, what's your week ahead? Everybody knows what everyone else is doing, because that means that we're rowing the boat together. And I think for me, that's one of the most important things, that we gain alignment with a common goal, a common vision, and we're all compensated on the same thing. So the way, for us, everybody we have, and it's maybe a little heavy, but we have each of us have 6 goals that drive our compensation. The first 3 are team goals. All 7 of us on the leadership team have the exact same goals. Right? So let me say it again. We all have the same goals. So those first 3. And then the other 3 are individual goals. Obviously, my COO has different types of goals than my
CFO, et cetera.
Exactly. So, a little long-winded, nothing more important than culture.
It's super important. And I'm glad I'm really glad, honestly, that you're being so transparent about it, because I've seen a lot, I've talked a lot about this, not always on the podcast, because it can be a little soft. It's hard for people to make it practical to their own organization. But you did say it's about changing behaviors.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk a little bit about kind of what that looks like?
Yeah, no, I think, again, I spoke to one of them already, which is transparency. So I think in the past, everybody had their fiefdoms, and if I, knowledge is power. So if I, hold back information, I'm going to be more powerful than you, et cetera, et cetera. So
kind of protecting your domain.
Yep.
If you know what I do, then you don't need me. That's the worst attitude to have.
Exactly. So the first one for me is that behavior of transparency. Everyone knows everything. There is very little that I know. Actually, you could probably, again, my wife would tell you could just stop right there.
I knew you were going.
There's very little that I know that I'm not telling the team, because we're a team. There's no way I'm successful if my team's not, and vice versa. So I think one piece is about transparency. I think, the other one that I do that by example, right?
You're modeling that.
Right. It's almost too cliche, but that's sort of servant leadership. But I am that guy that runs alongside my team. So I'm not a leader from the back or from the front. I'm right there with you. So, one very specific thing, and again, lots of people make fun of me about, but I think it makes me who I am. I try to do every job in the company. So literally last week at 10 o'clock at night, I got to the office, one of our facilities in Long Island, and I literally packed the trucks for the next morning. So I spent,
Is this another episode of Undercover Boss? Holy smokes. I think we've got something here.
Yeah, I'm doing it very selfishly because I want to have empathy for every role. I got, the month before, got up at 3 o'clock in the morning and did route rides. When I was, again, at Nabisco, we spent the entire day, I swear on my life, on my back with, I swear it was like an Oral-B. I'm sure it wasn't, but I think it was, toothbrush, cleaning the underside of the Oreo lines. I
trust you had a mask on.
I had a mask on. It was because it was coming all over
my face. That's an image. All the stuff was coming on my face. Gained 30 pounds in one day.
Right. I
that's a great quality.
You can't tell someone to do something if you haven't done it yourself.
Well, it does give you, it's very real, it's transparent, and it is frankly, it's a style of leadership. And you touched on servant leadership. Have you seen the inverted V, which is called the Freedom V?
Okay. No, I don't think so.
This was part of the servant leadership training that I went through.
Okay.
So imagine, the normal hierarchy is a pyramid.
Yeah.
Right. So the leader's at the top and everything kind of flows down. But when you do the inverted pyramid, the CEO's at the bottom. Yeah. And the CEO serves the VPs. Yeah. The VPs serve the directors and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And that is the basis of it. So the most important person is at the top of the funnel.
Yeah.
The very, very top, which is whoever was there with you with the Oral-B, whoever was with you packing boxes.
Don't get me in trouble. I'm sure it wasn't Oral-B. It was like Colgate or something.
We'll edit that part out. Wink, wink.
There you go.
I mean, we could probably spend a lot of time on this, but I think the vibe that I'm really getting from you is just you are fully involved, fully invested in all the aspects really of the business. And that's just how you personally feel that's the best way to operate and run a team and run a company.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So for people who want to go out and try and get this nostalgia meatball that we've been killing people with, that they can't sample it here, over the air, what's the best way for them to get out and kind of sample this and give it a try?
The beauty is we're a national brand, so we're everywhere. So, depending on where you are, if you're in the Northeast, you could, it's at Costco right now. Actually, it's also at Costco in the Pacific Northwest, and it's in the Midwest right now. BJ's, so all the club stores, Sam's, we have all that. All the grocery stores. You're in the Southeast, Publix is a huge customer of ours, and it's in multiple places. You could get it in the fresh meat section, sleeves. You could get it we have these pasta bowl kits. We have, actually behind the glass, we actually have the biggest, Publix sells these meatball subs.
Yeah.
That we're the exclusive meatball of the
Nice.
meatball subs. I was told, I can't believe this, but if I was told, I'm sure it's true, right? There's no fake news out there.
No, there's no fake news.
There's none. They sell more meatball subs than actual Subway does. That's how big Publix is.
Well, but the pub sub is pretty popular. When I moved up here to Western North Carolina, we entered into a food desert. So
that's not good.
No, it's not good because I left
Fresh Market by you. I thought Fresh Market's big in North Carolina.
Yeah, well,
not so much.
If I told you where I was in North Carolina, right? I'm not over near Asheville and Charlotte.
Okay.
I'm in the mountains.
Okay.
Absolutely beautiful. Oh, it's absolutely beautiful. And the fishing, the hiking, all the things we do is fantastic. But I'm gonna have to drive a little farther to get to Mama Mancini's.
Fresh Market's good. Stop and Shop, Ahold, Albertsons. We're just about everywhere, which is wonderful.
Well, I think, Adam, we probably could schedule a secondary podcast to follow up on, all the great things that you're planning, your vision for the year. I think I was reading somewhere too where you mentioned olives. I think pizza is also maybe another.
We're getting there. I mean, Dan definitely made pizzas with his grandmother. Nothing there yet, but it's certainly an easy. I get to taste it. Remember, I tell you these grandma quality meetings. I'm telling you.
Yeah, what is that? We didn't. We left people hanging. What's that?
It is good.
We'll finish up with grandma.
So once a month at least, but once a month, Dan, Chef Chris is our head of R&D, our executive chef, and I get together. We actually just had our meeting, and we do really 2 or 3 things. One, we're always tasting our existing products to make sure they're grandma quality, right? That's number one. Second thing is we try new things that Chef Chris has been making for us. We have
you're killing me again.
Good, I'm telling you, this was good. So we had some General Tso's chicken. We had some fajitas. We had actually he made this chicken piccata for us.
You don't literally have to go out and eat. Like, this is the one day that you're like, you're not packing your lunch.
Again, I'm telling you, as long as my board is not listening right now, I would do this job for free. Like, you guys are suckers. You totally should have taken this job.
Exactly.
I have to pretend,
I love the passion. Yeah, you have to pretend it's a grind. It is a grind. It is. But listen, as you know, food is a very, very, very challenging business. And the world needs good companies, with good people, with good values, providing those good food to us. We really do. We do need it. Adam, great talking to you today. No,
thank you so much for making the time. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, we'll have to do a follow-up, and we'll see, maybe I'll come down and we'll talk to grandma. We'll do the whole meeting,
You're always welcome.
And let me kind of be part of this. All right, thanks so much for being here today, Adam.
Thank you again, Tony. Bye. How was that?